take it. Got it! Boston wins! Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
Hi, everybody. It's time for the Bob Ryan, Gary Tanguay podcast. We are brought to you by, on CLNS Media Network, Prizepicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today and use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. Prizepicks, run your game. Robert, your favorite player, Marcus Smart, going to the enemy on his way to the Lakers. I mean, I find this very interesting because while I wasn't a fan of Marcus's game, you could not appreciate his love of playing for Boston. He loved it here. And now he's going to the Lakers. Your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a reaction that I seldom have ever had. I don't get caught up in the Red Sox Yankees idea of hatred. I didn't freak out when Boggs and Clemens wound up with the Yankees winning championships. This is bothering me. This is touching my emotions. I don't want Marcus Smart with the Lakers, so I'm very upset about this. I don't want him playing for the Lakers, but he's going to. Yeah, this one bothers me. So you're right. I am still a member of the fan club. I always acknowledge his foibles, so I just don't want him going to the Lakers now. So this triggered for me. Okay, let's take a look at the history, such as it is, of guys who have played for both teams. Okay. And so that's where I like to address.
Sure.
Well, the most famous ex-Laker who became a Celtic is Don Nelson. And Don Nelson began his NBA career with the Chicago, whatever they were that year, the Zephyrs, I think. And then after 1 year, moved on to the Lakers. He played 2 years with the Lakers in an auxiliary role. He played 119 games with the Lakers and wound up playing 872 with the Celtics. And what I love to talk about with him in terms of his Laker career is the fun little trivia. There's a famous Game 5 in 1965 and finals, and the Celtics are leading at the end of the third quarter in Game 5 by 20 points. They're going to win. They're going to celebrate soon. By 16 points. They open up the fourth quarter with a 20-0 run. And I can still hear Johnny Most. I've got the Havlicek Stole the Ball album excerpt of "What an exhibition of basketball this is," from Johnny Most. Well, guess who was on the floor for each of those 20 miserable points that Celtics scored against the Lakers? Young Don Nelson. I love that. And the other piece of trivia is that, and we can't verify it now with the man himself, but I can tell you that my information was that the guy who recommended to Red, they get this guy because, quote, "I don't like playing against this guy," because he's the way he plays and how good he is Tommy Heinsohn. That Nelly was recommended to Red by Tommy Heinsohn. And he picked up for $1,000 waiver or something, $1,000, right? And Don Nelson is one of the great auxiliary figures in Celtic history. He's got all those rings. Don Nelson wound up getting, let's see how many rings, 5. 5. Yeah, 68, 69, 70, 4 rings, and it was a wonderful Celtic, and I got many fond memories of Don Nelson. And I always tell people, here's the kind of shooter Nelly was. By the way, he led the league file this one away. Don Nelson led the league in field goal percentage at age 34, going on 35.
Wow.
1974-75. And it was all foul line jumpers, most of it. Seriously, not 80% of his baskets were foul line jumpers, foul line level jumpers, and the other 20% were putbacks. And that's what he did. And he's a great free throw shooter too. Nelly was a very interesting very character. Okay, Don Nelson, and wound up averaging 15 points, eight. Yeah.
I have a question about Don Nelson as a coach. How
Go
would you
ahead.
characterize his coaching career?
Well, I think he evolved, became a mad scientist. That's why I call him the mad scientist. He turned loose the Run DMC team,
Right.
and he actually tried, and he did convert Malik Bowl into a 3-point shooter. That's the craziest experimentation of its time, let me tell you. Nelly was really good, but he never won the championship. I used to root every year for Nelly's teams, in those years when the Celtics weren't involved, whether it was Milwaukee. And in Milwaukee, they were really nice teams, but I say they were the ultimate B students.
Right.
They drank their milk to the bottom of the glass. They looked both ways before crossing. They helped the little old ladies across the street, and they studied very, very hard and still for their exams and still got a B. That's who they were. They weren't good enough. And with the Celtics, and remember in the 80s, 4 teams won championships in the 80s. The Celtics, Lakers, 76ers, and Pistons. And the Bucks knocked on that door many times,
Right.
but they weren't good enough. Nelly was that coach. Then in Dallas, he got another near miss. But he wound up at one point had the most wins ever at one point, and as a successful coach, and it's a Hall of Fame level coach.
We'll get back to Bob in just a moment. Prizepicks is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prizepicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prizepicks. Prizepicks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out of your lineup when it isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. I mean, where can you get that? Prizepicks puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And when your picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. Come on, second half of baseball season is heating up, folks. So you want to get in on the fun. Just more or less, it's as simple as that. And every Tuesday, Prizepicks will discount several projections on the board, usually by 15% to 25%. So what are we thinking here? Bo Bichette, more or less than 3 hits in a game? Or O'Neal Cruz, more or less than 2 stolen bases? It's as simple as downloading the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game.
Okay, Don Nelson is the best former Laker to become a Celtic. The best former Celtic to prosper as a Laker was Rick Fox. And Rick Fox was a colossal blunder by Rick Pitino. And his quest to clear space to sign people he liked, such as Travis Knight, he ran out guys like David Wesley, who we would have liked, and more specifically Rick Fox. Rick Fox with the Celtics, and in his 444 games as a Celtic, okay? I always say he never gave up a cheap basket. He played hard every second he was on the floor. He wasn't a great player here, but he was a good player here, and he would have been a player that Pitino should have liked because he could make a 3, and he was a good defensive player, and he was a team player. Well, he goes to LA, and in his 360 games in LA, he winds up getting 3 rings and he was a contributor. He wasn't just a guy cheerleading on the bench. He was a part of that team. And so Rick Fox is the most successful former Celtic to go to the Lakers. The other most prominent one from our point of view, was Rajon Rondo, he spent 2 full seasons with the Lakers, but he was hurt all the time. Right. He only played 94 games as a Laker after 527 as a Celtic. But in those 2 years when he was on the floor, his first year, he averaged 8 assists a game for them. And the second year, he averaged 5. He was hurt. We also have Brian Shaw.
I forgot about B. Shaw.
Well, I thank my daughter for reminding me, Jessica Ryan, reminding me about Brian Shaw. He played 514 games as a Laker. And the average career is 9.2 points a game and 4.8 assists. That's pretty much the primary people. the other guys who mixed, one of them's hilarious, Shaq.
Right.
He had his
Right.
career. He had his career here, and Shaq played in 37 games for the Celtics. Okay, 37 games, averaged 9 points, 5 rebounds, but wasn't around when we needed him in 2011. And
Right.
so that's the deal there with those guys. And the other guy that played for both teams, and every time I look at his numbers, they amaze me. You don't realize he's better than we think, and that's Dennis Schröder, who played 49 games here is all he played here. Okay. I remember having a 20-point game one night I was there. Anyway, he averaged 14 points a game here. I'm stunned to see that. And he played 127 games for the Lakers. And we have mentioned this earlier, the people who don't know, he is now about to play for his 10th team.
I know, it's amazing.
He's signed with the Sacramento Kings. 10 teams. Okay, Dennis Schröder. Now, if there's somebody else that I've forgotten, I welcome one of our viewers or listeners to remind me. But that's what I came up with.
Did McAdoo ever play for the Celtics?
Of course he did. I forgot about McAdoo. Of course.
McAdoo
Oh my God,
and the
how can I
Lakers.
talk about that? McAdoo. So funny. I've talked about him on radio today. Of course, McAdoo. Did he ever play for the Celtics? Notoriously, in 1979, that's the famous trade on draft trade day. John Y. Brown and Phyllis George. Phyllis apparently told John to get McAdoo, and Red had stockpiled 3 number 1 picks, and they went to the Knicks for McAdoo. And I can tell you that that's the year that they were terrible, and Cowens was the player coach. And I can remember sitting in San Antonio in the hotel at the start of a road trip after he was picked up after the trade, and he comes in. Nobody picks him up. Nobody greets him. I'm his greeting party.
Of course you were.
But just totally coincidentally. Yeah. And it was symbolic. His entrance was ignored. Nobody wanted him. He didn't want to be there. They didn't want him, and Cowens stunned his team by after McAdoo showed up. He took himself out of the lineup to put McAdoo with starting center in the next game in Portland. People thought that was crazy. Anyway, McAdoo was unhappy here, and it was just lasted the 1 year, and he wound up, going, then going to Italy and wound up having a renaissance off the bench with the Lakers winning rings. So, good for him. He was a good guy. He wasn't a bad person at all. Good guy. But he was just.
It just didn't work here.
Did not work, and it was not fair to him. So, oh my God, how could I have forgotten McAdoo? Of course. So I knew, and I'm sure there's probably somebody else I've forgotten. Now, I got to talk about the most important person who had dual personalities or dual roles
Right.
by far. Okay. The great Bill Sharman. Bill Sharman's resume, for people who don't really understand how great Bill Sharman was, because his career spanned into the 50s. Bill Sharman became a Celtic after 1 year and spent 10 years here, averaging 18 points a game, 8 All-Star games, 4 times first team All-League, 3 times second team All-League, and was a member, and of course, won 5 rings with the Celtics. Won 4 rings, and was a member of the NBA's 25th, 50th, and 75th anniversary teams. One of the great shooters and players in the history of the game, and a great defensive player too. He goes to LA, and he is the head coach of the Lakers when they win it in 71-72, winning 68 games. He's the guy that brought the shoot around into basketball, which a lot of people are cursing him for. And a lot of players are cursing him. A lot of coaches are loving him. And he was the chief executive of the Lakers for 5 championships, 80, 82, 85, 87, 88. California native, by the way. So he's an all-time Celtic great, the number 21 up there. And he's an all-time Laker hero for reasons for both coaching and executive. And so he's got the most combined, greatness with both teams.
Was he Red?
It's a mini history of the Celtics Lakers together.
Yeah, was he okay with Red?
Yes, Red loved him. Yeah, he went no problem. By the way, the Celtics and Lakers, just so people, and the reason why this is important, they are the pillars franchises of the NBA. They've won 35 of the 79 available championships. They've won 35. They've won 35, and everybody else has won 44. Think about that.
It's amazing.
How about that? That puts it in perspective. Now I'm counting the Minneapolis Lakers. You have to.
Yeah.
Okay. But the Lakers and the Celtics are and of course the Lakers, the LA Lakers are the most successful team of the last 30 years. There's no question overall. So, their haul because all their 7, they got 12 starting by the time when the Celtics won their 11th in 1969. LA hadn't won any yet, and they've subsequently won 12. So that's very impressive. Anyway, but just think about that: Celtics and Lakers, 35 of the 79 available championships. So now we got Marcus. Let's talk about Marcus for a minute. What are they getting? You say he's 31. He's been plagued with injury the last 2 years. And by the way, he's only played 34 games last year. He played 19 for Memphis, then was traded to Washington, played 15. And the year before that, he only played 1 game after the All-Star break because of injury. So injuries have been his story for 2 years. I don't know what he's got left. So I don't know. And of course, he's been the Wizards waived him, I believe, right? And he signed as a free agent with the Lakers for 2 years. So, but just remember how good he was. The man was the defensive player of the year 1 year. 20.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus just had a higher opinion of himself, and I thought that hurt him.
Well, he had a higher opinion of his offensive game.
Of his offense.
His shooting, specifically his three-point shooting. You know? But he was 3 times first team all defense, heart of a champion. He made plays that you don't make. I always say he led the league in most alley-oop passes intended for 7-foot Greeks intercepted. Marcus Smart.
Right.
Holds the record for 1. But that's the record.
I'll
never forget that play. He intercepted an alley-oop intended for Giannis.
Yeah, and he was a defensive gem on the block. Yeah. Marcus, they would be having parades for Marcus. Marcus would never buy a meal again in Boston if he hadn't fallen in love with the three-point shot. And
he also successfully had to reinvent himself into make a serviceable point guard.
Yeah, and he was fine.
He wasn't a point guard by nature. He was a shooting guard, but he had to play that role at times, and he turned himself into a good one.
Bob, he was in my opinion, in the NBA, when he looked to distribute the ball first and play defense, he was a better point guard than he was a shooting guard. I mean, we all know that in the playoffs, some of the strategy was, okay, shut everybody else down and let Marcus take the 3. Yeah. That was it. If Marcus had skated his lane, he'd be a hero, an absolute hero, and he would have got another big contract in Boston. Too bad.
I kind of wish him well, but I don't now.
Yeah, I mean, now with the Lakers.
Now, all kidding aside, you wish him well.
He's a good guy. I mean, he's a good person. The 3. I call it 3 Titus.
I like that. I know that's all yours. So
3 Titus, man.
You got a patent on that one.
To wrap things up, Bob, I did see that. There's been talk about the Celtics having to step up their game defensively during the summer league or concentrate on that. Obviously, they're going to have to play better defense with Tatum out.
Well, that's true, and that's fine. And the other thing, they were maybe toning down the 3. There was talk of that. And then last night they have an exhibition where they win the game by 20, and they took 65% of their shots were 3s.
Right.
I guess they were falling early, so why not? So there you go. I will see about that. That's going to be. I'm sure we'll be talking about that as forever. So there's that. But meanwhile, this you don't read anything into what you're seeing with these people because you're not going to be nobody's going to play a role on the Celtics.
Right
now. We know that.
All right, Bob. We'll talk to you again later this week with Jeff Goodman. You've been listening to the Bob Ryan Gary Tangway Pod, a member of the CLNS Media Network. The show is brought to you by Prizepicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today. Use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. Prizepicks. Run your game.